Good morning, YouTube, and welcome to What the Papers Say with Deek Jackson. It's the 24th of August, 2020. Today's newspaper is the Scottish edition of The Independent, although, as I often observe, the paper's owned by a Russian billionaire, so how independent it is a matter of debate, if you ask me. Scotland faces a tsunami of cancer deaths. The story goes that because we cut so many operations, because so many surgical procedures have been cancelled because of coronavirus, the people who were supposed to be cured of cancer are now going to die. And that may well be the case. So where's their lockdown? Where's their massive public health expenditure and campaign? Because we are living through, low battery there, we are living through historically the greatest public health campaign, emergency, ever. Never in the history of human organization as a public health campaign on the scale of the coronavirus, three-stage good morning, taken place, ever. Ostensibly to save lives. It's funny that, because it turns out that quite a lot of people are going to die as a result of us trying to save lives. And I think it's interesting to note that most of the people that we're trying to save were going to die anyway. Really. Doris Day, good morning. So, Yabu sucks on that. 13 die in a stampede at a disco during a raid by police in Peru to enforce the lockdown. Case in point, right? Here we have the Peruvian police. Now, you've got to wonder, just how gnarly are the Peruvian police if you're prepared to kill yourself getting away from them as they attempt to enforce a lockdown? Just how gnarly are the Peruvian police in enforcing the lockdown? What did they... so they want to shut down the disco. What did they first launch? A few tear gas flash bangs through the window, and then baton charge the dancers to the tune of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. 13 people dead in a crush to get out of the door to avoid the police. I'm assuming they weren't simply going to issue antisocial behavior orders or an on-the-spot fine, you know, because that certainly wouldn't cause me to stampede to my death. Placido Domingo denied abusing his power during his tenure at 2 US opera houses in an interview today. The opera legend is fighting to clear his name after 2 investigations found credible accusations he had engaged in inappropriate conduct with women over a period of decades. What kind of power is Placido Domingo alleged to have had that he abused? Did he have the power to make women's knickers fall off by singing? Did he have the power to make them expose their breasts by a deep contralto? What kind of power did Placido Domingo have that he was exploiting? And where do you get it? Trump's sister says he has no principles. The remarks by his sister were recorded by her niece, Mary Trump, who published a book criticizing the president. I'm not sure whose principles are in question here. The people recording secretly, people talking secretly about people, or the people, or Donald Trump. I think principles are a good thing. I'm sure Donald Trump has some principles. I just don't think they're the same principles as Donald Trump's sister. And that should really be the headline there. Donald Trump's principles are different to mine, perhaps. Oh, serial killer, jailed UK mother, canine rescue charity for police dogs launched. I didn't know this. Nightmares Well, I was in Cambridge a long time ago, not on my most recent trip, but canine rescue charity for police dogs launched. I didn't know police dogs can't get insurance. Well, I would have loved a pint and a curry, thank you. Police dogs can't get insurance because of the nature of the work they carry out. What, sniffing drug dealers' butts? You can't get insurance because your dog sniffed some suitcases at the airport? I'm struggling with the rationale on that. And so when a police dog is retired, all the costs of its care and its medical bills fall to its owner, whoever that might be. Prince Harry heaps praise on US motivational guru. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex said they adore the American self-help guru and motivational speaker Brené Brown. 5 years ago, talking about your mental health was a sign of weakness, was it? Just as much as vulnerability was a form of weakness, is it? If we are all able to show our vulnerability, that doesn't mean you are weak. If anything, I believe it shows mostly your strength. I consider the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to be wanker, tosser, cunt fucks. And I wish they weren't in the newspaper. I wish people weren't interested in them. A pair of rich, privileged cunts pishing on about what vulnerability means, while millions of people die from diarrhea, and their biggest worry is how expensive their security is going to be and which newspaper to sue. Fuck off and die, by the way, you cunts. If that's not showing my vulnerability too much. Warning of tsunami of cancer deaths from surgery cutbacks. This is from the front page story, however. There's an interesting nugget of information. The reason I'm a fan of reading newspapers is not because of the headlines and the main stories and the editor's editorial line. It's because of what they tuck away in it. Like divining things from the entrails of chickens. You know, if you cut something open and look at its gizzard, I think you can tell something from the way the blood and bile spills out. Scotland is facing a tsunami of cancer deaths. Yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. People die all the time. So what? Get over it. People die. And then in the middle, there's a little middle section here. It says, there's been another jump in the number of positive cases. Cases. This is the new buzzword for making you live in fear-dumb about COVID. Cases. Oh, there's some cases of COVID. Woo. 83 new cases in the past day. And then quietly in small print on page 6. There was again no increase in the official number of people who have died after having tested positive. Let's go over those figures again, because they may be quite confusing at first. What that little sentence says is, no one has died. There was again no increase. Again? Does that mean no one died yesterday, the day before that? In fact, it's weeks since anybody died in Scotland. Weeks. This piece should be the front page. COVID over, nobody dying, everybody go back to normal. The government's been stripped of its draconian and unnecessary tyrannical powers. But no, instead we have this lick-spittle little comma almost punctuating another feardom story. Oh, people are going to die. There was again, as in not just today, but yesterday, the day before, and the day before, no increase in the number of people who have died after testing positive. That means nobody is dying from COVID. Meanwhile, the chief medical officer has said it is a moral duty to send pupils back into school. Very few, if any, children or teenagers would come to long-term harm from the coronavirus. See previous story, nobody's going to die from it. Very few people are dying from it. It struggled to kill my elderly gran, who was already dead, by the way, but that's another story. So it's our moral duty to send pupils back into school. I wonder if you could list the rest of my moral duties. I wouldn't want to, I wouldn't want to be lacking or fall down or be accused of having failed in my moral duty. Perhaps it's my moral duty to have the vaccine. Perhaps it's my moral duty to bend over for G4 security at the roadblock where you're issuing the vaccine. Perhaps it's my moral duty to just kill myself if I have a new cough or the symptoms of COVID. Perhaps it would be the government's moral duty to resign and let us elect a different one. Moral duties. There's no such thing as a moral duty. No such thing at all. It's for you to decide what's right and wrong, not the government. Yada yada. Pop concert safety trials. Virus cases past 3 million in India. Not talking about deaths there, because remember, there are now so few deaths to talk about. Yeah, yada 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 yada. Organiser of lockdown parties face £10,000 fines. Yeah, it's just not worth it, to knock back a few Jägermeisters and smoke a spliff. 10 grand's too expensive. Here's another little nugget tucked away. The World Health Organization says, with less than 2 weeks to go before pupils return to school, the World Health Organization has issued advice specifically for children. Children over 12 should wear masks. They should wear masks to help tackle the pandemic, according to the World Health Organization. It advises that where there is widespread transmission and social distancing is not possible, masks should be worn. Primary school in Milton Keynes has said children should wear masks. I'm disgusted. The World Health Organization's your new government. They are now the government because, of course, coronavirus, it's the law. Coronavirus is the law. You just have to say something like this. You have to do this because of coronavirus. It's the law. Insert whatever it is you want your population to do. And the WHO will back you up. The World Health Organization, with whom you've been signing treaties since 1948, many of which give them the right to determine policy and law in your country by diktat. The World Health Organization stresses that more data is needed to better understand the role of children in the transmission. Those aged under 5 should not wear masks, the WHO said. Oh, that's nice of them. That's nice of them, isn't it? Children under 5 don't have to wear a mask, restricting their breathing and making them afraid that they might be going to die. I'm sure that would be healthy if they should have to do that. That would be healthy. Sillars joins campaign objecting to hate crime proposals in Scotland. And anybody who saw my All Religion is Evil show from Glasgow yesterday will know that I am very interested in this topic because I live in Scotland. And the law that they are planning will forbid me to say anything that religious people don't like. Which is why I urge you all to join the astronomers. It's my religion, it could be your religion, and the astronomers mandates your right of freedom expression, and it also names and claims that all other religions are evil. And the people who subscribe to divine religions are moron idiot fucks. And that kind of freedom of expression is protected if you are a religious person, because street preachers can say that homosexuals are evil. They can. They had to change the law. The Astronomers, theastronomers.org. There's a website, theastronomers.org. There's a Facebook page and group. And I will shortly be publishing a Bible, a handbook for the practice of astronomy for astronomers, so that you can whip it out as proof. Not that any should be needed, that you are an astronomer and that your religion permits you nay, compels you to fight against the morons of Earth, to defeat them and to rid the planet of their evil. For that's what it is. Evil, I tell you. Evil! And so the astronomers are fighting the war on moron to cleanse the planet of the evil of divine religious belief. And surely all people who believe in divinity are total fucking morons. Amen. One time, let us know. And so, Jim Sillars, who was a former SNP deputy leader, he's campaigning for these hate speech laws to be watered down. I'm campaigning for them to be written off, but you know, whatever. And then here we have a whole page about climate change. Emergency declared in California as wildfires spread. Adventurer slapped in the face by climate change on Sahara trek. Greenland ice melt would span California. Now, again, I'm not going to delve into the whole climate change issue, but it is the case, and it is a fact that climate change is real. It was caused, humans have affected the climate. We are going to suffer the consequences. Cardini, afternoon, and your government is currently inept on the issue of climate change. The IPCC documents and agreements, the accords about climate that your government have signed, totally fucking worthless. Your government is marching you over a climate cliff, and nothing that the IPCC says is good. Nothing that they're planning to do is good. Before people start thinking that I'm somehow on the side of this nonsense, all of the solutions to climate change proposed by your government are pish. Liberal Democrats to crown new leader as party hits rock bottom. The Liberal Democrats in Britain, they really pished on their own feet. They really did. Let's go back to the leader before, what's her name? I mean, I forget, she was so rubbish. Joe Swinson. All right, before Joe Swinson was the leader, they had a guy called Tim, who was a Christian. See aforementioned preaching that homosexuals are evil. A liberal party with a leader who has, you know, religious fascism as his backbone. How fucking liberal is that, really? You'd think that somebody was trying to destroy liberalism in Britain by foisting this nonsense onto one of the few parties that allegedly claims to represent liberal thoughts and values. And then it got worse. We had Joe Swinson, who, after we had a referendum and the people of Britain democratically decided we didn't want to be in Europe, she announces it's her party's policy to just revoke the result of the referendum, as if democracy didn't matter to liberals. So, fuck you, the Liberal Party. You deserve everything you don't get. You deserve to disappear up your own embarrassed middle-class sphincters. Because you're obviously not liberals. You're just wankers. So far, it's only been a phony war. The vast majority of people still have jobs. Taxes have not been raised. But the economic crunch will soon arrive, the moment when this government will have to define itself in a fork in the road that decides the future of Britain. The real misery is yet to begin, says the Sunday Telegraph. I think that should really say the real tyranny has yet to begin, because the things that it says are true. This is a phony war. We have only just begun. The joblessness, the poverty, the hunger, homelessness, anger, and societal division and breakdown are yet to come as we plunge headlong over the cliff of stupidity with our inept leaders and their cowing obedience to the World Health Organization's diktats. Here's Ian Birrell. I don't always agree with Ian Birrell, but this is an interesting piece he's written here. It's about quangos, right? and it's led from the front page, Ian Birrell, who really runs your country, not your government, which is true. They don't. They're just they're the people who announce things on behalf of your rulers. And so Ian Birrell, it's quite a long piece. I won't go through it all. Basically, quangos, quasi-autonomous non-government organizations, are people who are given a huge chunk of money from taxpayers by a government to run certain aspects of the country without oversight, transparency, or election. And there's loads of them. And they're usually stocked full of obsequious, loyal lickspittles to the government. So they give their friends jobs. Chief Executive Duncan Selby has a £200,000 a year job. He is paid more than the Prime Minister to protect the public, but has been silent during the entire pandemic. Who else have we got? There's various people he quotes here. Ofqual is a body entrusted with overseeing exams. A former journalist running the exam body. Anyway, quangos have grown throughout Britain, providing plum jobs for well-connected people. David Cameron announced that he was going to cut quangos because at that time they were costing the British taxpayer 64 billion in payments to quangos under David Cameron. That was 2010. Since then, spending on quangos has quadrupled. That's 250 billion handed over to unelected fat cats who are running your life, in Britain anyway. I can't speak as to America. Many perform vital tasks and most lack any transparency or oversight. You can be sure that's just the way they like it. Lukashenko digs in as protesters march on Capitol. We'll see how that plays out. As I said about the people of Belarus, be careful what you wish for, because if you want to get rid of Lukashenko and join up with Europe, you are jumping from the lying pan into the liar, or from the liar into the lying pan, whichever way you want it. Really, there are no good outcomes for the people of Belarus here. It's just simply a matter of who is going to own their mobile phone contracts and charge them interest to borrow money to buy things they don't need from people who've got all the money anyway. Meanwhile, tucked away, almost not in the news, hundreds of thousands of demonstrators filled the streets near the official residence of Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Israel. Throughout the summer, thousands of Israelis have taken to the streets calling for him to resign. Oh, I haven't seen this on my television or on the media. Saturday night's protest comes ahead of a deadline for the coalition government to agree a budget or trigger new elections again. Poor people of Israel having to keep selecting rabid religious maniacs to rule them. I really feel for them. No, I don't. And like Lukashenko, if you get rid of Netanyahu, guess what? Another Jew will run your country. So how will that be any different? I'm sure there was something at the back of the paper, skipping through all the pish about holidays and the arts. Pish, bollocks. What Christmas present you will be buying this year? Oh yes, Apple's 2 trillion value. Wow, people must love investing in Apple. 2 trillion. Now that's a market valuation. It's the first ever 2 trillion corporation, apart from Aramco, which is entirely owned by the Saudi royal family. Although it's listed, you can't actually buy shares in it. So what's going on there? Why is the stock market listing a privately owned company that I can't buy shares in? Yeah. It's hard to separate the high-tech story of Apple's success from the economic story of central banks flooding the world with liquidity and driving up asset prices. What he's saying there in a roundabout way is a lot of central banks have printed a shed load of money. And once they printed it, instead of putting it in the cupboard where it wouldn't do anything, they're trying to increase its value by jumping on gravy trains, and Apple is one of those gravy trains, along with stocks like Google and Facebook, although Facebook not so much. And then it's the spurt, and that's all she wrote. Well, that was what the papers said. A load of pish and bollocks. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. I'm gonna see you soon.